Welcome to the Dysfunction Junkies podcast. We may not have seen it all, but we've seen enough. So now, here are your hosts, Chrisy and Kerry.
Hi, junkies. Welcome back. I'm Kerry.
And I'm Chrisy.
Well, Chrissy's come up with another good one today.
I don't know. I hope. I thought this was interesting. I came across this just in some feed. It was from Global English Editing by Farley Ledgewood. And it was the 10 phrases as a child. If you heard the people who raised you say these phrases to you, they think that it had something to say about the parent or the adult's own personal trauma.
Their childhood
or dysfunction.
Trauma.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was looking through these phrases, and me and Kerry were talking about this a little bit, and I have heard, I think, all of these phrases. Mm-hmm. There's 10 of them.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, for as fun as I was having as a kid, and my especially my father, very, creative in how he would sometimes let me know what he thought or how I should behave. I don't really remember getting any of these firsthand.
Oh, okay.
But now you said...
there's a couple of these on here that when we get to...
talk about some of the ones that maybe you can even share, like what was the event or whatever that was being told to you.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go with number 2 because that one, we'll talk about that one. Number 2 says the phrase was, because I said so, that's why. And I know I've definitely heard that from my father.
Okay.
And it was probably, I was probably an annoying kid at one point. And, dad was telling me to do something and it was like, why? The little parrot, why?
Right.
And it's because I said so, that's why. Not that it was an answer, but so I definitely know that one I've heard many times.
Right.
But it was never said with a threat. It was more out of
matter of fact,
annoyance, irritation. They couldn't come up with a reason why, so it was just because I said so, that's why.
Right. I am the parent, you are the child, yes. And that's the end of it. I don't really remember being told that. And it's not that it's beneath my father or anything like that. But I think there was a point where, again, if you listen to episodes before, I definitely have a huge fondness for my dad.
Yeah.
But I think growing up, I thought maybe the guy was a little crazy. And not that I didn't deserve discipline. I did. I'm not, as you guys have heard me talk about stories, obviously I was no little princess or, very sweet little quiet, mousy type of kid. But generally if dad said something, you just stayed quiet but to question it.
Yeah.
You were very courageous.
I was going to say you were brave.
Very brave and courageous, because I just don't think I would have said, I wouldn't have said why. And then therefore he wouldn't have to say because I said so. He might have just
given you a look.
Well, the look, yeah. But I think he probably would have just completely jumped over that and just said, do this because I said so. I didn't even get a chance to say why.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that might have heard that. It wasn't, he didn't give me a chance to ask why.
Right.
I want you to do this because I said.
Right.
And then it's how do you argue with that?
Yeah,
I
right.
can't.
I can't.
At this point, you say why, and he's just like, what are you, stupid? I just told you. Don't bother me, kid. Get out of here.
So number 1 was stop crying before I give you something to cry about. I heard a variation of this. And this would have been more from my mom. It would have been stop crying because crying is not going to get you anywhere.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? With that one, so first of all, I could probably count on almost one hand the amount of times I ever saw my mom cry.
Oh, okay.
My mom would, if she was getting emotional or she was upset, you would never see it. Mm-hmm. Very, very, very few times did she cry. For her, it was, and I think that was her defense mechanism growing up. And maybe she was told this. I don't know. But so her comment would be as if I was crying about something, instead of consoling, there was no consoling. There was no, oh, honey, it's okay, or life will get better, or whatever, your boo-boo will heal. No, it was stop crying because it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to help you. It's not going to solve the problem.
Well, I find that a very good thing you just said, because I think that really goes along with what this article's title is.
Yeah.
It not only only if you heard these,
Yes.
it has something to say about the parent or adult who said them as far as what their trauma was.
Right.
And I think with that,
Yeah.
your mother, because you said you never really saw her cry,
Very few times.
she was probably taught very early on to not show that emotion.
Yes.
Because it was it had a negative.
It was like a useless. It was useless. Don't waste your energy.
Don't waste your energy doing it,
It's
and
not
don't
gonna do it.
don't
It's not
show
gonna
that
fix
type
anything.
of weakness.
Yeah.
So I can see how that could be something that would reflect on a person's
Their childhood.
dysfunction or
Yeah.
trauma growing up.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, the one thing my father did used to do, which this wasn't so much as, well, it was a saying, but it came with a physical thing too.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I don't mean anything horrible or
Right.
disturbing, but generally out of nowhere, my father would like all of a sudden sort of smack you, but not
like a bop.
Yeah.
Like a
yeah.
bop you on the head.
Right.
Right.
Or, I can't even describe it, but
Yeah.
I never took it as aggressive or abusive.
Yeah.
But
It was playful.
I guess. And I think it was just to keep me on my toes. But when I tell you, and I'm sure other people have heard this too, but when you hear this saying, you would think it's something that's just horrible to say to somebody because it's almost terrifying to think about it. But he would used to do that, and then he'd say, "That's for nothing. Wait till you see what you get when you do something."
Oh.
Now, I never got the second part
Right.
of that.
Yeah.
Generally, because, okay.
Yeah.
Warning taken. Yeah, okay. But again, I always took it as playful. But just in that saying, if
Yeah.
you just have that saying alone and in a different circumstance, that's a fairly aggressive and sort of scary thought, almost like, your grandmother burning you with a cigarette.
Yeah.
Well, that was for nothing.
It was for nothing.
Wait until you see. I'm just going to
I
set
think-
you on fire completely the next time.
But see, that message was, I really think, meant for somebody else. And it was, look what I can do. If I can do this to her, what am I going to do to you? You know what I mean?
Well-
I really think I was collateral damage on that one. I don't think it was me personally, but I think she was making a point via burning my hand. So.
And you were close.
I was close.
And
yeah.
your hand was
And my
very
hand was,
available.
Unfortunately, too close to the ashtray to make it look like an accident.
Everybody, not that there's ashtrays anymore, but if there's any lesson out of this, don't put your hands
Well,
in
I
your
ain't sitting
ashtrays.
by it.
No, me neither.
What else you got on there?
Well, this is an awful one because we talk about sort of some dysfunction and trauma dealing with siblings.
Yeah.
Why can't you be more like your brother/sister?
Never heard that one.
Never
I mean,
heard that
I've seen in movies where like people, that line is used or whatever, but that has never been said to me, or I've not heard it in my surrounding. I don't even think I've heard another friend's parents say, like, I've never seen that other than in a movie or heard that.
It's funny. I was just thinking about this.
What?
What if somebody said this to you and you're an only child?
Ancestry, do you?
And you're like, wait a minute. What are you saying? I thought I was your only
Who
child.
needs mail and DNA? You just
Talk about
Oopsie.
some backstory there that somebody has not touched
some
on.
Freudian slip there.
Yeah. This is another. Why? I give you everything. Why aren't you happy? That sounds, I don't know. That just sounds so insulting to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Again, that's a movie I've heard in movies and stuff, but I can't say I've ever personally heard that, or I either said to me or someone in my surrounding vicinity. I can't say that.
I feel like that is just really maybe a parent or older person really not
They don't understand what love is.
that, and they really don't want to dig into what this
Right.
person's experiencing.
There's a lack of emotional connection.
Right. They just
It's physical. It's, I will give you this, and this. I will buy you things to make you happy.
I think this has a lot to do with mental health.
Yeah,
You're
that's true,
not
too.
recognizing
Yeah.
someone's mental health because, with mental health, you realize that people, you can have so much,
Yeah.
but the matter of fact is that depression is real.
Yes.
And people struggle with that. And it doesn't matter how much they have.
So you've never heard the phrase, but I think because of the way you were raised,
Yeah.
you did get a lot of stuff.
You did.
So even though it was never said to you, I don't know, I just felt it just rang to me that it applies.
I was thinking similar that, you were the child that was, your parents gave you a lot, but apparently you didn't express depression or sadness or whatever because they never had to say that to you.
No, I was happy as hell.
Exactly. It worked.
It worked. I was the only one that came out of that situation. All right. You do give me a lot.
I just felt like that could have been a situation where you could have.
Where you could have, but it didn't.
It
yeah.
didn't.
I was thinking similar.
Because you were given, I mean.
They were very generous with me.
Well, you've even said before that they would buy
Absolutely.
you things. Like,
They bought me things. They provided for me.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of expectations, I don't think, as far as what I relied on to give me outside of the material stuff.
Right.
They weren't completely cut off from me emotionally. My parents weren't afraid of being loving in their way. And I was okay with that level. So, yeah.
The next one, kind of a little bit along the same lines. You're lucky you even have a roof over your head.
Now, that just sounds like something out of a Dickens novel.
I've heard that one. My dad said that to me.
Really?
Yes.
Do you remember what the situation was?
I remember I was 16, 17-ish, and I don't know what we were arguing about, but it had to do something with my boyfriend at the time, who eventually became my husband. But I don't know if it was that we were hanging out or whatever, but there was some context where he was like, if you don't like it, you could leave because you're lucky that you even have a roof over your head right now.
Was he trying to impose a rule on you in regards to your time with your boyfriend?
I think that's, if I remember, it had something to do with that, or they didn't like that we were spending so much time together. I mean, really, what did he care? I mean, he was working, my dad was working.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was at that time working a lot too. So I was kind of on my own,
Right.
So it was like, why do you care if we're hanging out? Because you're
what else is, you're not here.
You're not here, So, but I do remember him getting so mad at me at one point. He said something like, if you can leave if you want to leave, and then he made that comment. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
But I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that my grandmother said to him.
oh.
I definitely could see where that came from.
That definitely seems like that would have come out of a dated era.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah. Boy, you're lucky you have a roof over your head.
Well, yeah, I mean, you almost...
I'll go get switched to you.
It seems dated.
It is.
But I think some of these really all kind of seem dated to some extent.
Yeah.
You're too sensitive.
Never heard that one.
I didn't either. I mean...
No.
I was sensitive because I didn't want anybody to give me any baloney. And
Right.
so... Please don't comment on it, whether you think my look is not appropriate or anything like that. But yeah, I don't remember hearing that one.
Yeah. So let's see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got about 4 more.
Yeah, 7, 8, 9. Oh, 10's at the bottom here.
Okay.
I'll take this one. You can take the next one.
Okay.
Then. Okay. So you're just like and then it says insert parent or relative. That sounds
Yes.
like
It sounds like, right. But here, instead of comparing it to a sibling, it's like the apple
does-
Yeah, we just said
doesn't
it.
fall
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Now, I have heard my mother say that to my dad, but it was not, I don't remember hearing it like to me.
Right.
But I've heard that, oh, you're just like your mother. But like that would be my mom saying that to my dad.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what they're trying to say here, because it's about trauma and
Yeah.
dysfunction, that's a negative.
Yeah. Said with love, but this could be this can be a compliment, but it's usually like a curse or a bad thing. You're criticizing.
That's what I was going to
Yeah.
make mention of, that this could easily be you see in your child something that you admire in your partner.
Right. Right.
I guess it could be thought of both ways then.
Yeah. Well, when I've heard it, it was definitely not. Now, I will say, I think I've probably said this to my son sometimes, but usually it is in the good way, you know, because my son's an excellent father, excellent, just amazing me what kind of father he is. And I have said, oh, you get that from your dad, but that's the wording changes. Oh, you're just like your dad. You get that. You're a good father, like, you know, your dad.
Yeah, that sounds like a nicer way.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It is in the same
Yes.
thought.
So I will say I have used that phrase, but in a kind way, but I heard it a lot growing up in a not kind way.
Right.
Yeah. DJ Nick's got thoughts going on over there.
Oh,
He's not.
I thought,
Okay.
yeah, I thought he would have just chimed in. I don't know that he's making
Usually
notes.
when he starts scribbling on something or he's
Yeah,
all right. So that was you're just like, okay, so the next one. I'm the parent, you're the child. I don't owe you an explanation. Yeah, that's kind of a little bit like that other one that we
Yeah,
had.
some of these seem like they're just a different wording, but they're the same idea.
Yeah. I'm the parent, you're the child. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard this
That
one.
seems like a complex statement to make. It doesn't flow off the tongue easy.
No.
And I don't even think it's impactful.
No, the only time I've heard, I don't know, like, I guess a variation of that would be you'll understand when you're older. Like when you're talking about something.
That in movies. I
you'll
don't think
understand.
I ever heard that.
Oh no, I've definitely heard that because we didn't talk about things in our house. And so like if you had a question, like, I don't know, talk about sex. Oh, you'll understand when you're older. If somebody makes an off-color joke and what is that? I didn't get that. You'll understand when you're older. Right. So that's kind of how I a little bit take that.
I hear you say this a lot about what your father used to tell you, saying what she says about that when you would make, you would be a little bit, I don't know how to say it, maybe off topic or a little bit on the, I don't want to say naughty, but sort of, you're being, silly, trying to make people laugh, but it was, the humor was a little bit different. Your father had a saying.
Oh. About toilet humor?
Yes.
Potty humor?
So my dad was, even though my dad wasn't a Puritan, he was very puritanical, let me just say. He was very straight-laced. His sense of humor was different than mine. He was much more,
He was kind of a quiet gentleman.
Not swear words, So, whereas, so he used to get on me about that because I would sometimes make risque comment here and there,
Yeah.
And as a kid,
colorful language.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have been, so I get it. I'm just listening to you guys talk about these things. I did hear,
a lot of these you heard.
Yeah, like the one you just said. I'm the parent.
You're the child.
And then don't ask me why, but just because I said so. And I've heard that from both of my parents. So but much more from my mom was much more the disciplinarian growing up. So I would have likely heard more things. And reflecting back upon it, they both had very traumatic upbringings.
Yeah.
Just thinking about that I'm sure that.
Did your mother have a say? I feel like you used to tell me your mom had one thing that she used to say, but maybe not. You said your mom generally would laugh at your humor.
Oh, my mom definitely. She thought I had a better sense of. I think she appreciated my sense of humor more so than my father. Definitely. Yeah. She would be, in fact, probably more so than my sisters. My mom would be the one laughing the hardest when I would say stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well.
Because my sisters have their sense of humor is more like my father's, I think, in general.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So they were more the, so.
Straight-laced.
Straight-laced.
Well, I guess your household definitely needed you in it to lighten the mood.
Yeah, and that kind of thing too about some of these, I think it also relates to like our family didn't talk about things. Mm-hmm. So usually if some of these things were going to be heated for me, especially in my earlier years, if it got to the point where there was going to be a comment, there usually you went straight from whatever happened to physical, and there wasn't a lot of conversation. Mm-hmm. So you were gonna get hit before anything. In the later years, that's when my dad would say something. He was learning to control his temper or whatever, and so then you would get these, and that was always the signal of walk away. Because you're about to you're going to get hit.
Oh boy.
So he evolved because he started learning to control, and so then these singings would come out. But
right.
So what's this number 9?
What is we have left here? That's terrible.
It is.
You always ruin everything.
You ruin everything. I feel like that's a sibling thing. A sibling would say to a sibling. Did your sisters ever say that to you?
No.
Yeah, I see.
Because there was such an age
difference.
So we really weren't doing anything. Just thinking back now, I could say that's probably a thought I had. And just didn't verbalize it.
Right.
That would be one that I kind of kept to myself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people probably think that. You don't want to say it out loud.
Yeah.
But you have people in your family that you're like, man, they're such a downer.
Yeah.
Or we're trying to have fun and they kind of ruin it every time.
Right.
Are they invited to this get together? Because I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But never heard.
Yeah.
I really, to give my parents a little bit of credit, I guess, they would have never allowed, if they were doing something, they really knew to not involve a child.
Yeah.
We definitely had a clear understanding of what was mom and dad activities as far as their social circles and what they did as adults with going out and socializing with friends versus
family time.
We want to sort of experience this with our child, So I guess I feel lucky because the fact that I think that was recognized by them.
Yeah.
Generally, and not that we did a lot of it, but if they were going to involve me in something as far as a vacation together or go see a movie together, I generally had a pretty good experience with it.
Right.
My parents, I do remember going to Walt Disney World with them when my father tried to sink the car. And I hate to say this, but I think actually my father's intention was more about, he was sort of getting a chance to experience something that he didn't, because it wasn't there when he was a child.
Right.
But I think he had a fondness for Disney.
Yeah.
He liked the animation. My father was actually a fairly good drawer. He was able to do
I remember
artwork.
he did the artwork for the clowns.
For the
cover
circus.
for the circus.
Yeah, he did quite a few of those. And he was very talented with that. So I think he had an affection for that. So I think going and taking me to Disney World was sort of a big deal to him.
Yeah, it was.
And I think it was something he looked forward to. My mother, not so much. It just wasn't her thing.
Yeah.
It just wasn't her thing to have if anything, I guess the line that you say, you always ruin everything, that might be what you said. She just wasn't fun.
Yeah.
She will tell you that. She's like, we never played games. We didn't do anything. But I think my father, like I said, generally, if he was going to do something with you that involved you.
Yeah. It was wanted to.
He was kind of all in.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
This last one, this one strikes a nerve because the phrase is, that didn't happen, stop making things up. That's gaslighting.
Gaslighting. I thought about that when I read that.
So I can't say that phrase was said. However, gaslighting was definitely, there was gaslighting, but maybe not said in that way. But I saw that and I'm like, oh, I hate gaslighting. Like that's like a, so.
Well, I read that too, and I thought to myself, boy, that has like abuse on so many levels written all over it, because you're almost trying to convince that person and the people around that this is not a true statement. This is not an actual event. This person is basically lying.
Let me just say this. I have not heard that line from my parents, but there have been people in my family that have said that. They've made that comment about things, and I'm like, well, I could show you the text message that, nope, that's what was said or that's what was done. But so that one really strikes a nerve with me because that's totally dysfunctional.
That's a bad one.
It's a bad.
I mean, in general, that list, I guess it speaks a little bit. Maybe, again, for me, I'm coming off bad because I don't have as much dysfunction with this. I don't remember hearing really any of these. And Kerry has had experience with some of these.
I have,
And now, did you said there was
He said there was some on there.
There's about 3 or 4 of those, I'm sure.
You've
heard.
No.
And I know that it's, the author's premise talks about their own childhood trauma when they were children. And I know both my mother and father, they both had a pretty rough upbringing.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think maybe a lot of kids did from that time period.
But I think what they, did try to do is to, despite maybe using some of those phrases that you really shouldn't use that the author, this article talks about, I think they really tried to do the opposite of their parents as far as the upbringing. I mean, there was alcoholism in both of my grandparents on both sides. My parent hardly ever drank.
Yeah.
Especially my mom. Maybe she'd have one drink at a
holiday or
at a
something.
wedding.
Yeah.
My father, maybe in the summer after he cut the grass, he'd have a beer.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
and that's a dad thing to do.
So, but other than that, like neither one of them had a lot of alcohol. And I think because they grew up with alcoholism in their upbringing. So I think that parents, they probably shouldn't have used some of those phrases, but I think they did.
Well,
right.
you can't really fault them. I mean, this is the way they were. Life.
I think that's the author's premise. I mean, it's not that you're trying to be,
but it's good to talk about these things because we don't want to. We want to try to do better.
Well, even me as a parent, I'll admit I probably borderline said some of those things to my daughter.
Well,
borderline, maybe not exactly that phraseology, but
right.
I do think, that sometimes I have mentioned to her talking about she should appreciate all that she has, because I know I grew up fairly humble. I mean, so I didn't have a lot of the stuff that like Chrisy had growing up. So I know I've said some of
But I think there's a difference in the tone. Because there's one thing to talk to your kids about, the things that they have and they should be great for or whatever. So there's one thing to have that conversation with your kids, but there's another to be like using it in a threatening way or, why aren't you happy when I give you all this instead of, hey, you were very lucky to have. So there's tone is definitely makes a big difference.
Well,
but
I don't want to come off as like super nice because sometimes I might have used that tone, just to being honest. So
we're human.
Yeah.
So
I think the one thing that I am guilty of that is a statement on here, but I haven't actually said that, but I probably was feeling it and tried to express that line, but in a different way, about being too sensitive.
Yeah.
I see things that bother, especially my oldest daughter, because of the age she's at. Mm-hmm. And I remember not letting the same type of thing bother me.
Yeah.
Or at least not to the point where I had to express it.
Where other people would visibly see that it upset you. If it upset you, you wouldn't let other people see that.
No.
Right.
I mean, did you think about it later and you were upset about it? Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm not able to completely just move on and not care what you think or say. Of course, I do. But I do feel bad when I feel that way because I guess I just... Again, I'm not saying I'm above it, but maybe just because of our age and the way our parents were with us, you really didn't spend a lot of time on that kind of hurt. Mm-hmm. Not that you didn't hurt, but it's hard to explain. But there are sometimes, because I won't say it to her, but I'll talk with Nick afterwards. And when she expresses, she talks to us, thank God. And she'll tell us something bothered her or whatever. I try not to really say anything to her about it. I just try to listen, but I might just in him and I, when we're having our conversation after reflecting on it, the one thing I definitely say is I wish that didn't bother her that much.
Right. Yeah.
So,
but that I think is more the protective mother in you. That's, you don't want to see your child hurt.
Right. No, not at all.
You're not faulting for the feeling. It's just, you don't want to see your child hurt.
Right. I want her to be strong and not, because I do fear for mental health for everybody. Yeah. And especially teens. Yeah. There's a lot that they try to process. So I try to, I feel like, I don't want you thinking too much about this.
Well, I'm glad whenever you sent this to me, I actually didn't dive too much into it. And sometimes I do that on purpose because I want the reaction to be raw here and not to overthink it. And this was one of them. So yeah, your Facebook scrolling or whatever that led you to this article by Farley Ledgerwood from Global English Editing. The 10 phrases of a child you were raised by people, if you were raised by people who never healed from their own trauma. So yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. That was a good one, Chris.
I don't know that we came up with anything as far as going deep into what our parents' trauma was or wasn't, but
no, but it's interesting.
It was because I'm sure there are people out there who did hear a lot of these, and maybe when they are reflecting on the fact that they heard them and they think about the parent or adult who said it, it helps them get a better understanding of what their dysfunction or trauma was.
Right, and then it kind of helps you understand your parents a little better. So, well, we want to hear phrases maybe that some of these resonated with you, or maybe there was other ones. Shoot us a message on Facebook or Instagram, or send us an email. We'd like to hear your feedback. We do have our new website, dysfunctionjunkiespodcast.com. Please check that out. You can see where we're at, what events we're going to be at. We have our Junkies Care, where it's our community outreach. We are sponsoring Canine Companions, their Dog Fest North Central. That's in September. We're trying to raise money for them. You can learn more about that on our website. But yeah, we'd want to hear from you.
Definitely.
All righty. We'll see you all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.